version of the Bhagavad Gita, only he's called it Wisdom from the Gita, I believe, something like that. Now there might be other people who have attempted to take the Gita and put their own little spin on it. But if anybody's going to try to do that, they better make sure that their presentation is in the line of disciplic succession. And I can understand why people might want to share the Gita because there's different audiences out there. Like I believe there's, I know one of our girls from Canada. He said, I think I'm going to put out a book called uh, the Gita for Dummies. Gita for Dummies. And I know that Kalakantaprabhu over there in Florida, he's quite wonderful. He put a book out, the Rap of God, Bhagavad Gita, all wrapped out. Arjuna, you know it, I think, right? Yeah, he did a good job, splendid job. So, Prabhupada encouraged us to write, but if you're going to write, make sure that your Siddhanta or conclusion is spot on with what the Acharyas had to say. When it comes to conclusion, your language might be different than his language. Prabhupada's language was in English, I guess more classical, definitely from the Victorian era, and that some people might have a little hard time with it. So therefore, some devotees may decide, I'll put together a Gita and make sure that it's just in, let's say, totally in synchronized with the message of the Acharyas. Because we have different audiences now, it's become more diverse, Like everyone's flying in Emirates, where they have like 25 different, airline stewards, whatever you call them, and they come with their different languages. They will boast about it. We have people who know Dutch, who know Swahili, who know this, and they know that. So okay, so it's good for us to reach out to different audiences and get through to people. Any other questions?
So about the same thing, what Haripad said, and sometimes, and connecting with the verse we are reading, sometimes Indians only read one line from the shloka, Yatha Ichhasi Tatha Kuru, which is the last line. And they say, well, Krishna says whatever we want, we can do, That is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita.
Right. And they don't quote anything else.
No, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes, so that's the problem, right? They haven't read it thoroughly, and you can't take those things too seriously. I've been in situations where somebody will put up their hand after a good talk and say, well, what doesn't Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Blah, 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 blah. I said, which Bhagavad Gita have you read? Which one? I never heard that. I have to correct it. They will come across very scholarly and everything, show up. I've read Bhagavad Gita, and I know this, and I know that Krishna said such and such. And you have to stop them on their tracks. You just say, where in the Bhagavad Gita did you find that? Well, I don't know. It's in there somewhere. I read. They give some nebulous answer. You just can't take these people seriously. And when people say they read, a lot of people don't read. They don't. We're not in a reading culture anymore. We're not in that phase. Not the same as our predecessors have done. People, they love to see a flashing image. Isn't it? They just love to see something that's taken on the streets, videoed, a police officer being attacked or whatever it is, or a flick where you've got an alligator biting on a python or something like that. That's what people want to see. Don't want to read. It becomes a little too cumbersome for them. So you have to be a little careful about interpretations. That's why it's good to have a mentor. It's good to have a guru who'll set you straight on these subject matters. And also not to mix it up with other people's, ways of looking at the Gita. I was in the province of Saskatchewan. I was walking and I met a woman who was very much into the Gita. She's a Caucasian lady. Her husband had written a version of Bhagavad Gita. It's so colossal. It's got a hardcover, and I sort of breezed through it. I didn't see anything wrong about it, but it just seems to be something that people like to do. They want a pundit status, and therefore, if I do an interpretation of the Gita, will be okay. But you have to be really careful. You want to stay clean with your karma. You can't just veer off in your own direction. Say, whenever any little speculation you want to deliver, it has to be paka, it has to be on board, it has to be conclusive by the acharyas in the past. Good. Someone else?
Yeah, Maharaj, that's what Prabhupada in his book, the Prabhupada book I'm reading, he says that in India our spiritual habits are very lame. So it is very important that we go through the scriptures, and also the most important thing is the purport. A lot of people in India, they're very learned, but they know all the 700 slokas, but if you touch into their purport, they just keep quoting the same thing, and they think that they know everything. So that is a challenge in India, is that people are lame in understanding Bhagavad Gita. It's not that they don't understand, but they are a little lame in understanding.
Yes. I was in Kanpur some years ago, and I was asked to speak a little something from the Gita. And then after I was finished, there were 3 gentlemen that followed me. And in this place, which had quite a few, it was a big facility, that's all I said. So we don't need to hear from you. We don't need to hear from your interpretation of Bhagavad Gita. We are already knowing Bhagavad Gita. Now you're a Western man. We want some donations from you. So even though I was a sannyasi, I'm supposed to be loaded. So it's just, people's motives. Yeah. Anybody says, I know Gita. I'm knowing. And they'll say it just like that, with all of this conviction. I'm very much knowing Gita. I am Brahman. I am Brahman Pandit. And they're very self-convinced about these things, Those people who talk like that, you cannot trust them. You cannot trust them. Because anybody who's a real pundit or anybody who's a real bhakta, they won't boast about it. They won't say anything. Okay, we have Arjun Saka. You've got something you'd like to say.
Arjuna Prabhu was already hands up, so he can share.
Oh, okay. Okay. Arjuna, go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Arjuna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So basically, I met this Indian couple, and the Indian that was born here, he said that before he started school, his dad had a Gita, and he slammed the Gita in his face. He said, "You read this book, and you read it every day." So then the wife was one time arguing with me, and she was like, I know Gita. I know the Gita. Who are you to tell me Krishna's God? And I said, oh, he says that in the Gita. And she said, well, that's his book. And I said, have you read the Bhagavad Gita? And she said, no, I don't need to read the Gita. I'm Indian. So I was like, okay, that's it. I didn't say anything else. I just walk away. And then pertaining to Haripad, Krishna says that if we don't control ourselves, I think it's in the second chapter. He said that we can bring unwanted population. So I think that's what he was pertaining to. But I don't think we should kill the babies. If you messed up, I mean that's your karma. But that's what Krishna says, that you have to be in control. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what it was.
It's very dangerous to put gold in people's hands who don't have experience about how to manage money. So it's also dangerous to put, the sacred words of God, which are mantras, into people's ears if they have no inkling towards spiritual life. They have no interest towards self-improvement. You're almost, giving it to someone who will waste it. It's just like, if you give a house to somebody and the person's never lived in a house before, and they won't know what to do with it. They'll probably mess it up like anything. They'll mess it up. They'll just turn it into a disaster. So there has to be coaching. There has to be life coaching for sure. Before you take the Gita and dare to make a presentation on it. So it's happening with the Gita. It's happening with the Bible. It's happening with the Quran. I don't know, when people say kill the non-believers, what are you supposed to believe? It's repeated several times over, and it doesn't. Is this really a holy book, or somebody misinterpreting it here? Encouraging people to die if they don't believe in Allah. Really? So how can you be spiritual and talk like that? All right. Anything else, Bruce?
Maharaj, I have one thing to share. Like, fortunately or unfortunately, I was raised up in a family in this situation only. Like, they interpreted the Bhagavad Gita like in everything. They in my childhood, I still remember my father used to say, "You have to eat non-veg." Krishna is saying, "Do your karma. Don't don't have any desire for the reactions." So you have to. It's very very much essential for your body to grow up and have muscles. So I said, no, it can't be like this. Krishna is so sweet and all. And this is how I was introduced to Krishna consciousness in my starting days. Like I started reading Bhagavad Gita like this when my father used to say this statement.
Well,
And after
I'm not
that,
attacking your father, but I mean, if you want muscle, why don't you try to convince a hippopotamus? Why don't you go non-veg? Can you tell an elephant? Would you like? Let's go American. Let's go for a hot dog and a hamburger. It's just gonna. They'll throw you out with their trunk. Out of my way. You're just a menace to society.
yes, Maharaj, and even when I used
The
to
argument against the vegetarian position is as patram pushpam palam tuyam yume bhakya prayachati. That's the Lord saying, offer to me with love and devotion, leaf, flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it.
And this is one of the places they would use Yatha Ichasi Tatha Kuru shloka.
Oh, yes. Do as you like. Yeah, but do as you like after the lesson, qualification. Krishna says, now I have told you about the confidentiality. Now you think about it. And after you think about it, you do something about it. So some people's intelligence is quite bright, but some are not. Some have not been able to grasp it. Chapter 2, Krishna is saying, many people have heard about the glories of the soul, but even after hearing about it, they don't really grasp it. They can't come to terms with it. It just means they haven't become, let's say, maybe sincere enough. The only lifestyle they relate to is to be crooked. Good. Anybody else has any more comments they'd like to make on this? Purnachandra, she's on Anantashish.
Maharaj, I have
Oh, sure. Yeah.
a simple question from the Bhagavad Gita, just what we were reading. So 63 is what we read. It says, thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential, deliberate, and then do what you wish to do. 62, the previous verse is, O scion of Bharata, surrender unto him with the capital H, utterly.
Yeah.
By praise, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. So my question to you, Maharaj, 62 is said by whom? By Krishna?
Oh, sign about it. Yeah, well, he's the one that's speaking, right?
And then, okay, so he says, O sign of Bharata, surrender unto him. So just surrender unto me, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because
Okay.
uh,
And then 61,
Bruce was speaking before in 61, right?
right. So 61, he says,
And 60 as well. This
okay,
makes reference to himself. Yeah.
okay. That's good.
Okay, I'm glad. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, Vice Prabhupada.
Rasraj, how are you?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I'm good Maharaj, thank you. Yes, Maharaj, I was listening to a Muslim scholar, so who mentioned about this, like, the misinterpretation and killing of the people, innocent people. So he said this was said by, in their lineage some long time back, which is not no more valid today. So, but people are still following, and for example, in Sikh history also, the guru, the Sikh guru mentioned at one point of time, that you are allowed to eat meat, and so that you can get the power and attack the Mughals like a lion. But that thing is over, and it is not valid today. But they are still eating.
Yes. Yeah, that's the problem that people may have in the Vedic times, ancient Vedic times. Treta Yuga, for instance, perhaps also in the Satya Yuga, they would offer animals and sacrifice. So, but that's not relevant anymore. It doesn't apply to people today because you don't have the qualified Brahmins. So, yeah, we have to make sure we don't just keep at it with one injunction that was very applicable at one particular time and epoch or era doesn't mean it's like forever. And it depends on who you're talking to.
Yes, Maharaj. So mostly people are fanatics, and they're just like sheep follow up.
Yeah, it's usually non-scholarly people who kick up some dust over these matters, and they just feel that they've got, I've got the book, it's right here, but not knowing the circumstances.
Yes.
Like if I look at the letters of Prabhupada, I can read one letter and isolate it from everything else he's written. And I can then, say, oh, look at Prabhupada told this person he could eat meat, just to give an example, or he could sell meat in the shop. Okay, but does that mean you have to? Does that mean that you can eat? Just like we hear the miracle with Jesus, that they divided the fishes and the bread. So some people take that as like, see, I can eat meat. I can eat meat because Jesus did it. He took loaves of bread and fish and divided amongst the people, the multitudes. Okay, well, first of all, it was fish. It wasn't meat. It wasn't cows, right? And secondly, he multiplied them. He doesn't say he ate them, to my knowledge. So you see how people get kind of carried away with these things. And we are talking about a desert. We're talking about when people were starving, didn't have anything. So that's one thing. I mean, if you were in a place where it's deprived of food and there's a famine going on, you might say, okay, let's eat some fish. Okay, we don't want to, but let's keep our kids alive. Give them some fish, those kind of circumstances. Understandable, but we have to look at what's relevant. We have to look at what's relevant. why it was said, why it was done. Chanakya Pandit said some heavy things, you know. You know, if you look at it, he was teaching, he said some heavy things during his time as he was a counselor or governor during the Gupta era. Anyways, don't know too much, but he said some heavy things, you know. And I heard from a scholar that one time he said women are 9 times more lusty than men. Okay, well, really, I don't. That's not what I've seen. And you know, and someone explained, well, there was a time when prostitution was very big, and that was the main occupation of the women at the time. God forbid why it had to come to that. But you know, if you say something in a social political climate, it doesn't mean it's applicable to all circumstances. Like Trump is making decisions based on what's going on right now, and he might have a change of mind or a change of heart sometime down the road, considering the what is the circumstances at the time.
Like he's trying to impose tariffs on Canada and Mexico, heavy tariffs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say much more about him. To be honest, I'm just going to control my senses here a little bit, my thoughts. But I'm just saying, when a leader makes some kind of proclamation of sorts, it may be applicable at that time, may not apply in all circumstances.
Yes.
Like in chapter 1, we read in a purport that says women are less intelligent, but okay, that might be true for a part of the brain. It may not be true for another section of the brain. And it may be a statement coming from 19th century, late 19th century, from people who taught, like when the British and Scotsmen taught it. It may not be applicable. It depends what you need, what kind of intelligence you're talking about. So we want to be a little bit careful, you know, how we present ourselves and not misrepresent ourselves.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
So the thing about Mars, the thing about like Jesus. So I talked to some like really advanced devotees, and the thing is like the Latin word. Okay, so we have a word. The Latin word like fish in Spanish mean pescado. So also sin means pecado without the S. And he was saying that he was giving them food, and he was basically saying that if you don't offer the food, it's sin. But the Romans couldn't control the real Christians. They basically took the Bible and they killed the real Christians, and then they added the meat eating. They took out reincarnation, they took out a whole bunch of things. That's why a lot of things don't really make sense, because supposedly the real Christians died in a cave sealed, but the books, like the pages, they found them like not too long ago. So basically, like unfortunately, that like knowledge was lost, and that's why like the Romans wanted the power, so they couldn't really get these people to obey them. So that's why they had to kill them, and that's why they had to like fool them with the meat eating and the fish and all that. And then now like a lot of Christians say, well, Jesus ate fish, why can I eat fish? You know, like, you know, so it's a very bad thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we could, yeah, sure. Depends on who you're talking to. Maybe you could tell people, eat fish, don't eat cows, okay?
I also heard like in the, who was saying that, like in the was it the manuscript? I know it was like, it's called like Mahapapa, to eat fish, because the fish is supposed to be like containing all the meat of all the animals, including the cows. So like if you eat fish, is even worse than eating cows. That's what somebody, like a real Brahmana from Aksha was saying that it's really bad. But they're not gonna stop
Yeah.
eating.
Almost all food is pretty bad right now. Almost everything is not very sattvic anymore. Yeah. Anyway, I think the main point here is that people misinterpret very easy, and they do that for their own comfort, for their own convenience, to justify their lifestyle, their sin. They want God to back up, all that they do that's, corrupt and not sattvic. And another thing, let's not get mixed up. What you might hear from the Durga worshippers, even though they might be Hindu, it's a little different than what you can hear from a Brahmin who represents Krishna. Right? Well, I think what we should do is let us go to, because I'm going to have to go to the yoga studio soon to do a presentation. I will just ask if everybody could say something. Give us usually it's our classical 4 words that you want to take away based on what we just discussed. And we kept to our theme pretty tightly. And let's put some highlights out there from you, Prabhus, okay? Did I get that? Can we start then, Vaishnavi? That's your job.
Rasraj Prabhu.
Actually, I came late, so I missed the main topic. So I don't know what was the main point being discussed.
But Prabhu, that's over 4 words, okay? Yeah. But based on what, the verse that's there, just give us something, please.
18.63 is the verse.
Okay.
Okay, next one, Manasi Ganga.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Follow Krishna's instructions.
Follow Krishna's instructions. Jai ho. Very good. Next.
Lama Prabhu there?
No, he is not here.
All right. Purna Chandra.
Okay, I came late too, but I'm gonna say something. Okay, I think we were talking about meat and stuff, so I think you are what you eat. So, try to be more sattvic.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, keep it to 4 words. Okay. Next.
Ritam.
I think I have three words. Follow Krishna's will.
Follow Krishna.
Krishna's will.
Krishna's will. Jai ho. Very good. Next.
Haripa.
Yate chasi tata kuru.
Okay. Thank you.
Rasraj Prabhu. Now are you ready?
Yes, follow Krishna's instructions.
Okay.
Arjuna.
Be more selfless.
Okay.
Arjun Sakha.
Follow as it is.
Okay. Nice.
Murali.
Who is it?
Murali.
Early. Early.
Guy Gaurav.
Krishna is giving depth.
Okay.
Guy Gaurav Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, devotional service in portal.
Okay. Nice.
And your wife, can she go? Tribhuvan Sundari?
Tribhuvaneshwari.
Sorry, Tribhuvaneshwari.
Hello.
Tribhuvaneshwari.
You became a deity. Okay.
Nina. Nina.
I wrote it down, Krishna does not force us to do anything. So we are actually on our own to decide what is good and bad for us. He has given us the Gita message to help us to to help us to decide the correct thing and then come to Him. That's what I understand from this passage.
Well, that's good. You gave us 4 books. We just need 4 words to summarize everything. 4 words.
So in 4 words, I would just say that He doesn't force us.
He does not force us. Very good. Nice. That's a good theme there. Next.
Uddhava.
Prabhupada is our savior.
Okay. Wow. All right. Anybody else?
Naman and Violeta.
Dive deep in Bhagavad Gita.
Oh. Dived.
And free will has consequences.
Free will has consequences. Okay.
And we are done with everyone, Maharaj, except me.
Okay. You agree with? I agree with everyone. 4 words.